And we're live. Yeah.
What's going on, people?
Let's do this, Brutus.
The first official Bullspittin podcast episode. The pilot, if you will. So I'll be your pilot, and Mark is going to be the co-pilot. How you doing today?
I'm all right.
Did you catch the game last night?
No.
You did not catch?
No.
Really? Oh, my God, dude.
I meant to. We ended up going to the Japanese tea gardens.
Oh, nice. Yeah, those are nice.
And there's a little back way out of it. So Michelle wanted to go to
That trail?
take the train ride.
Yeah.
So we took the train ride. And really surprising. There's a lot of, not to be weird or racist,
Uh-huh.
so nothing but Indian and Japanese people, all in that area.
Yeah. Indian,
Maybe
Japanese,
one or
huh?
two white people,
Well,
maybe
they are
one or
Asian.
two Mexican people. But near the zoo,
Mm-hmm.
Indian and Japanese people everywhere. I don't understand. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, you said it was Japanese tea garden, right?
Correct.
So that's one. Now, what the Indian people are doing there, that's another, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, you have your Mexicans thrown in there. So it's just a whole boiling pot there, melting pot, whatever you want to call it. How was it, though? Did you guys have a good time?
It was nice. Seen a lot of parts I've never seen.
Yeah.
A lot of corny dad jokes
Mm-hmm.
over the intercom on the train.
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
best one you heard?
The best one or the worst one was,
Give me either one. I'll take it.
if you look to your right, you might see some bears. There's been reportings of bears. But then again, we are in Bear County.
Yeah, that's full-on dad joke. That's a full-on dad joke.
Yeah. Do you
So
see my
stupid.
face? This
Yeah.
it looked like this. And I was just like, get this train ride
Yeah.
over with, man.
Keep your day job. That's what you should. Hey,
Yeah.
keep your day job, buddy.
Yeah.
If only you had a banana that you just finished eating, you could throw the peel
I
at
don't
him.
know. I think it was a recording. I don't know if it was a guy actually in the front
Oh, really?
saying this stuff. I think he was just focused on
He
driving.
was probably fired, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll just have him record real quick."
There's one thing I didn't know, though. I've never ridden on a train before, ever. And I realized that this
Really?
train is not a real train.
Yeah, it's a little.
It's a little kiddie thing, but it's on rails, right? It has a
Mhm.
motor. It's on rails. It is a rough ride. It feels like the train's going to come off the tracks. Every turn, the steel wheels or whatever it is are smashing against the rails.
Mhm.
Feels sketchy.
Yeah, I've also been on that train before, and I think they tried to reenact a stick up or something like that. And I don't even know like what it was supposed to what historical event this was supposed to be, but I don't know. I think they just do it just to kind of entertain the adults and the kids a little bit, but it's okay. So, anyways,
They ride a lot of trains in India.
I don't know.
I think
All,
so,
all I
right?
know is
So I think
is
all the Indian people are used
Yeah.
to the train.
I remember seeing it
think-
in $1 Million
seen-
Slumdog Millionaire or
Yeah,
whatever.
in
so-
a lot of YouTube videos, it shows like some dude standing up on top of a train grabbing a wire, and he gets electrocuted. He catches on. It's not funny. It's not funny. But he catches on fire.
Why you
His
laughing?
hair catches on fire,
Oh man!
and then he's sitting there,
yeah.
and then just falls over, and everybody's screaming.
Oh.
See, you're laughing too. It's not funny though, because
Yeah.
he wasn't grounded. He was standing on top of a metal train, and he grabbed a wire.
Oh my
and
God!
He caught on fire,
Imagine seeing that as a kid. It's just like,
dude.
yeah.
You think he smelled like Indian food?
Oh, dude, he smelled like burnt curry. Just kidding.
And we are off to the first podcast.
Yeah, and we're canceled. We're just as
we are canceled in the first 2 minutes.
as soon as it started, it ended. It's got to be a world record. Well, that's a shame that you didn't catch the game last night because it was one for the books.
I
man.
watched the end of it on YouTube.
That's all you really needed to see then. I mean the whole way it was back and forth. Boston held the lead for like the majority of the game. And then I was even thinking, okay, Jimmy Butler is full of shit. Like I haven't seen him, but then it's kind of like the last 5 minutes of the game, he showed up. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was doing decent the rest of the entire game, but that's when he really showed up and he,
It's too late to show up though.
Oh man, as long as you show up at the end, he's kind of like Goku. You know what I mean? Like everybody's out there dying and trying to hold it together, and he shows up at the very end. Well, he didn't get to defeat the Celtics because that was a hell of a finish by Derek White, man, former Spur. Shout out to the Spurs. We are San Antonio fans, or at least I am San Antonio Spurs fan.
Shout out to Derek White's forehead.
For real.
Where his hairline starts.
For real. He's been getting a lot of heat about that lately, man.
Oh, yeah. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal were laughing uncontrollably on air.
Calling him Stephen A. Smith.
Just making comments about his hairline.
Yeah. That's I mean, he's a good ball player, man. Yeah, he's got one hell of a 5-head, man. Can't even call it a 4-head. But yeah, that game, I was talking because I saw it with my brothers, and I was thinking because a lot of comparisons. I mean, I don't know if it's trolling or if it's just legitimate that a lot of people are saying that Jimmy Butler is like the illegitimate son of Michael Jordan. I don't know if you've heard of that, caught wind of that.
I have heard that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think he looks like him. I don't really think he looks like Michael Jordan that much. And I guess maybe another play on it is that because he's so clutch that, yeah, he's got to have that MJ DNA in there. Well, but.
Have you seen the side-by-side comparison picture?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I see a little bit, but not enough to say, like, oh, yeah, that's his son, man. I mean, I see a little bit. I mean, not a whole lot.
I guess you could take a lot of people and put them side by side, and you can try to find little things that look similar.
Yeah, but if I squint my eyes,
their
I
ears,
can see it.
Their ears do look similar. Michael Jordan has some very unique ears. The way they're shaped and the way they the angle of them on his head. It's a little bit Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. You looking at Michael Jordan's ears?
That sounds pretty gay.
Exactly. So, yeah, a lot of comparison has been made to Jordan, and I'll tell you what, he made a strong case for it last night. The way he showed up at the very end, he is clutch. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is his second time going to the finals. He wasn't able to close it out against LeBron before. That was the bubble, I believe. And this time, we'll see if he can get past Boston. But yeah, we were talking about this last night, and just how, how offensive the game has become. I mean, everyone knows that, back in the day, specifically the 80s into the 90s, basketball was a very physical sport, and more defensive and just harder to, you had to really impose your will, be tough. And now it's kind of like you can't even breathe on these guys, and they're flopping everywhere and being so dramatic, man. I swear, like it's hilarious. Like, and it's not just one person anymore. It's not just like LeBron, flopping. It's everybody's doing it, and it's so ridiculous that it's almost like I'm watching, like, I don't know, like a theatrical performance, and I'm getting to watch basketball at the same time too. It's pretty insane.
So what do you think flops harder? LeBron's movies or LeBron on the court?
I'm gonna have to say his movies, man. That Space Jam, I still haven't seen it, and I won't, because I've heard so much bad reviews. Like, I mean, just terrible. Even from LeBron fans, they're saying that was dog shit. It's dog water.
His acting, that's not acting. I don't know what that is. It's like he has so much stage fright. He can't relax. He's just tense and self-conscious and self-aware
Yeah.
the entire time.
The best acting I've seen from him, besides on the court when he's flopping, is that Nike commercial he made a while back where he was did the dive. You know what I'm talking about? You remember that commercial?
No.
Well, he kind of did like a like Eddie Murphy. I'm sorry, Eddie Murphy did like Eddie Murphy where he played several characters, right, that were supposed to be like his family members, and then he was himself in the pool, like just kind of like running in place. And then you had all these other characters like his dad,
Yes,
his
I
granddad.
remember.
Yeah, you remember now, right? Yeah, that was good stuff. I will admit that.
So I think LeBron's commercials when he first came into the league were really good. The one where he did, with the girl from the Pussycat Dolls.
Oh, I don't know if I remember.
Man, Nicole Scherzinger.
Yeah, I think it's Scherzinger or something.
Scherzinger,
Like that. There's a Z in there.
where he's taking off her shoe, and he's, I know I ain't perfect, baby. Close, but I ain't. Really good acting. There was just really good acting. And then the one where he has the crown on and he's doing like the Harlem Shake.
Mm-hmm.
His commercials when he first started were really good. Really good acting. He was funny. He was likable. And then something, and I think he was on the Heat. I think he did some when he was on the Cavaliers. And then when he was on the Heat, he did some and they were still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think it was when he went back to the Cavaliers, something started happening with his ego. Something happened with his personality, with his ego when he needed to start speaking out more. And I understand why. He has a good platform. He has a big platform and he feels it's responsible to speak out on certain subjects. But around that time, when he started doing that, his acting and his commercials, something changed. He started getting horrible.
Yeah. Well, I can pinpoint, I know exactly when he lost me. Because, up until that point, I didn't really care. I mean, like, I saw his talent and everything. And, I was even rooting for him when he pulled off that win against the Warriors. When Draymond Green got suspended and everything. I was glad that he won that ring. But after he did, and then he was when he made that post when he was like saying like I want my damn respect now, and I was like, come on, man, like
I remember that.
Yeah, I think after that happened, he really started to get cocky. He was feeling himself, and then you started hearing more people saying, "Oh, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT." I'm like, man, you are not the GOAT, dude. You're good. Close second, I would say.
Do you think...
Actually, I don't even know, man. What about Kobe? Like, there's a lot of other basketball players. Well, there's a few, honestly, that I can think of that I would put ahead of LeBron. Kobe would be one of them. What do you think?
Do you think before that happened, right? What was I getting to?
Before LeBron lost his...
Before he said, give me my damn respect, before that. I liked him a lot. Before he started blabbing on social media and started actually caring about his personal identity, he was very likable. And then when that started, I may not have paid attention to his social media before that. Maybe he was doing it. But when it started becoming public, he just started becoming cringy.
Yeah, for sure.
But do you think that because Kobe was still in the league and Duncan was still in the league and Garnett and a lot of very dominant players, that even though they were calling LeBron the king and the GOAT, he felt self-conscious against these guys because they were still in the league? And it kept him in check because he knows that if he would have started getting super cocky and all that stuff, these other players would have put him in check. But once all those players slowly started exiting through the years, he started thinking, I'm the only one left. I own this league now. And then his ego started coming out.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Because I remember in his early years, everyone recognized the talent, but they were always saying, yeah, but he's not a leader. He's not a leader yet, right?
There were more dominant players still in the league.
Yeah, and he was very young still, you know what I mean? So, I mean, he had some, he had his path ahead of him that he needed to grow into. And, I believe, once those Titans left, those Duncan, Kobe, all of those guys, Garnett, exactly who you said, once they exited the league was his now. And then that's when he started growing into that role. Warriors again, came up and they were his new rival. Yeah, so I think, probably around that time when he started growing, pretty much had the league to himself and all eyes were on him now, that definitely fed into his whole, like, I'm the GOAT, give me my damn respect, it's my time. Like, yeah, but I don't know. He could have been a little bit more humble about it, and I think he would have had more fans. Because right now, I know there's a lot of LeBron fans out there, a lot of diehards.
I was a LeBron fan. When he first came in the league, I was a big LeBron fan.
Yeah, he's very polarizing now. I mean, you either love him or you hate him. Me, I don't care. I don't care much for him. Yeah,
very divisive.
I even saw some news about, and I'm not 100% sure if this is real or not, but one of our mutual friends had sent me, I don't know if you saw it, but he had sent me a post or something about Greg Popovich saying that he wants LeBron to come to San Antonio. And I think it is legit because it was in my SA Instagram page. So, and that's a legitimate news source here in San Antonio. So, and it was saying that a lot of Spurs fans don't want LeBron here. I feel he shouldn't come here because in effect he would be pulling a KD, just kind of riding the coattails. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still a very, very accomplished, very good basketball player, and he can definitely be like the general on the court, with the team and everything. But the thing is, if he were to come to the Spurs, I feel like he would try to become the coach too, and Pop is like, I don't know if Pop would say yes or no to that, but I just don't feel we need him. We have Wembanyama coming, even though we haven't made the pick yet, but I know it's going to happen because if, God forbid, if the Spurs were to just kind of trade for somebody else, that would be the dumbest move in sports history, and I would effectively retire as a Spurs fan. But we don't need him. I think we have all the cards stacked in our favor for this upcoming season and seasons to come. We don't need LeBron here. And I think he's probably just going to stay in LA and I heard he was going to try to get Kyrie Irving over there. We'll see if that happens or if he can get another superstar to go there.
If the Spurs were to pass up on
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama.
Wemby.
Wembanyama.
Wemby. There you go.
The Spurs were to pass up on Wemby. Number one, San Antonio destroys the city when we win a championship. Our city would burn to the ground like we were being invaded and conquered if they were to pass up on the number one pick.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
As far as LeBron goes, for years, it's been widely known LeBron loves Popovich, and he has said publicly he would love for the opportunity for Coach Popovich to coach him. He said this when he was on the Cavaliers. He said it when he was on the Heat. He has nothing but respect for Coach Popovich. He loves him. He thinks he's one of the greatest coaches in history.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think he said that.
Probably the
Or
most
he
winningest
said that
coach.
he's one of the greatest coaches in history, and he has nothing but respect for him. He would love for Popovich to. Jamie, can you check that? No, I'm just kidding. He would love for Popovich to coach him. Now, if LeBron were, in my opinion, if LeBron were to come to the Spurs, I think number one, Popovich is the Bill Belichick of the NBA.
Yeah.
He does not put up with bullshit, and he will cut you from the team. He doesn't care who you are.
Yeah.
If you give him too much bullshit, he will not deal with you.
Or he will trade you for
He will trade you.
for a good deal. Well, I don't know if he does all that, but I definitely know the Spurs organization has been good about getting rid of these, these rocks that were polished into diamonds. Well, I wouldn't say that, but gems, right?
What's the name of the player that supposedly slept with LeBron's mom? The one that's homeless now? On drugs?
Oh, shit. Damn, I don't remember, man.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah, I remember that incident. Yeah, he's homeless now, huh?
Popovich would trade LeBron for that guy just because that's how much he won't tolerate. So I think if LeBron were to come to the Spurs, number one, I think a lot of San Antonio people do not like him. Because Lakers are a natural rival of the Spurs
and then he was a part
for
of the Heat
years,
too.
for the last 20 years. I think if he doesn't get his ego in check and he comes to the Spurs acting like he owns it, I don't think he'll be accepted.
Yeah.
I think Popovich will put him in check. And I think he will tell him, you're not. I think Popovich is going to. I don't know if Tim Duncan's humility. Overall, I think Tim Duncan was an asshole, but he was so good at it that it came off as humble. Remember when he pushed Richard Jefferson? Richard Jefferson was standing by the Spurs bench, and he just went over there and shoved him and just stared at him, didn't say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tim Duncan was cocky and arrogant in the right way to where it didn't come off as being unlikable. It came off as strength, and people like that. In LeBron's case, he's mentally weak and he tries to pretend that he's like mentally tough. I don't know how to describe that. I guess you just have to know what you're seeing to see it.
Yeah.
Right. I think what would happen is Wembanyama, I think Popovich is going to try to get him to have the same type of humility as Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was just, they called him the big fundamental because there was no bullshit with him. He just focused on the game. That was it. He just focused on what his job was, what he was supposed to do, and he stayed focused on that. That was it. He was very short when he talked, and just like Popovich, they had similar personalities. I think that's why they were like best friends. So I think if LeBron comes to the Spurs, we're going to see personality changes out of him if that's the case. Maybe he's so deep in his career, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, I don't think anyone really buys that he's going to retire. It's probably just to get some publicity. I'm pretty sure he's going to come back. I'm like 90% sure he's going to come back. I don't know if it's going to be with the Lakers. I mean, that to me, that would make the most sense for him. You know, he's already got his family out there and everything. This economy is not affecting him in that way. So, and you already have, AD. You already got like damn near to the, the Western Conference Finals. Why not? Just need another piece.
I think if his son gets drafted to the NBA, I don't think his son's going to have enough power to be able to choose where he wants to go because he's not going to be drafted high enough. Well, you don't get to choose where you go anyways. But I think whatever team his son gets drafted to, LeBron is going to try to go to that team and play because he said his number one thing is to play with his son. And why would he not want to make history as the first player ever to be on the same team with his son?
That's very true. That is very true. Is he going to be coming up in the next draft or?
No, his son is exiting high school now. and he will be doing his first year of college at USC next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
he ain't going
at
nowhere.
the
Then.
very minimum, LeBron's going to have to stay in the league for another 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years. And that's if his son gets drafted to the NBA.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how good he is, but haven't really been hearing anything about him either. Nothing like Wembanyama.
Have you seen LeBron's other son?
Mm-mm.
How good he is at basketball? It's not even funny. His other son, I forgot his name. LeBarry? No.
LeBarry?
I don't know. LeBrian?
LeBrian.
LeBroderick?
LeBroderick.
I don't know his other son's name. Let's see what his other son's name is.
LeBron's son. Bronny?
So you have LeBron Ramon, that's Bronny. And then you have, he has 2 sons, right? So Bryce. Okay.
Maximus.
So his son's name is Bryce. And so what they talk about on ESPN and other shows is that Bronny's pretty good at basketball, but the one who looks like he has major potential, right? Like really good, just natural, crazy, mental, intangible basketball skills is Bryce. And they were saying, keep an eye on this guy because if they both go to the NBA, he'll probably be a better NBA player than Bronny. And that's not my opinion. That's what I hear them saying.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like LaMelo Ball, right? Or Mellow Ball.
Yeah, like the Ball brothers.
Yeah.
What happened to the one that got caught stealing in China? You remember what country that was? Where Trump actually had to help get them all released? They got arrested? You have, who are the Ball brothers? Which ones? You got LaMelo?
Yeah.
Who are the other ones?
Angelo Ball, I think.
Angelo?
And then,
Okay, there's 3 of them.
And who was the first one again?
The youngest one, I think, was the one that got arrested.
That's LaMelo, isn't it?
No. Let me see. Let's look it up again. Another search.
So you got Lonzo Ball, LaMelo, and LiAngelo Ball.
So LiAngelo. LiAngelo is the one that was shoplifting.
Yeah, he's the middle brother, I think.
And he's the one that they got in trouble. And is he in the NBA now?
You know what? Let's check.
Because that said a lot about his character. American professional basketball player.
Who's he play for?
So.
Oh, he's in the G League?
He's in the G
man.
League. Okay, so consequences, folks. If that wouldn't have happened, he wouldn't have gotten that negative pressure on him due to the positive. I guess his other brothers have a positive image, right? So due to just a good reputation of his other 2 brothers, I think he would have been drafted into the league. He's no Antonio Brown, to where you are so good at what you do that teams are going to still be fighting to have you on their team because you're just so good. I don't think he has that kind of skill level.
Yeah. So if LeBron played in the 80s to 90s basketball era, how do you think he fares? Do you think he's still able to win rings? Or do you think he's just going to be middle of the pack, can't even really see him kind of player?
You mean with his current mindset?
Well, yeah,
everything?
With everything that we've seen throughout his career, how do you think he would have handled himself? How do you think he would have came out Like if he had to go up against the bad boy Detroit Pistons, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Supersonics, those guys, all those guys, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, all those guys, like all the heavy hitting players of years past.
With his current mindset.
Yeah.
With all this social media BS and all that.
No. Minus that.
Okay. I think, okay. So let's say he grew up in that time, right? I think his mindset would be a lot different and he would have adjusted to it. I think LeBron is one of the smartest in basketball players of all time, if not the smartest.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, so I think he would have adapted. I think he still would have been like top 5, maybe top 10 in that time still.
Okay.
Because he was so large, he's so large and physical. And according to Skip Bayless, he's the best driver of all time.
Really?
I don't agree with that. But I mean, maybe I don't agree with that because Jordan was able to go in between 4 or 5 guys and just figure out how to keep the ball away from them. And LeBron goes in and gets hacked and falls on the floor holding his face. Jordan never did that.
Yeah. Well, it's because of the, you want to get the fouls and everything. And it's just that caters to what the game is today. Like you have to play that part in order to get those free throws, because those free throws, they make up a good chunk of those points now.
So it's like the Mayweather approach. He's taken the approach that Mayweather takes to boxing in defense, running around the ring, getting little jabs in here and there, racking up points to win the fight. You have some boxers who win the fight by wanting to knock people out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have other boxers who want to rack up points. That's why Mayweather is not he's not as beloved as Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan didn't play that game.
Yeah. Very technical.
I think LeBron does. LeBron plays the soccer. A fly lands on you, you roll around on the field holding your legs, saying the other guy hacked you, so you can try to trick the referees. And Jordan never did that. He never played that game because I think it's because of his mindset. He's just not going to sink down to that level. I think it's petty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If I played in the NBA, I don't think I would be playing that game. If somebody could hack me, I wouldn't fall on the floor holding my face because I think you look like a bitch. And I think overall, you're going to have an impact on your fan base, that they're going to think you're a wimp, or you're promoting that it's okay to act like a victim. Maybe I'm going a little too deep with that. But, I mean, you barely get touched, and it's just ridiculous.
I completely understand where LeBron's coming from. Well, not just LeBron, but how you have to play the game like that. Even Jason Tatum, watching the game last night, I've noticed he's pretty big on his theatrics. Like somebody like barely puts the hand on his back, when he's coming up for a rebound or something, he'll flop and be like, "Hey," and look at the ref like, "I got fouled," like just calling for it. And you know what? Whatever makes
it's a game of chess.
Yeah, whatever gets you the victory at the end, you can't really hate on it. So I guess I can see it from that perspective, but from a fan's perspective, it's silly and it's infuriating at times. But it is what it is. The game has gotten soft, and you know what?
It's a good way to put it. The game has gotten soft. Back in the 90s, they were hacking each other to death. No fouls were being called.
You know what? I kind of feel like, and this isn't just the NBA, I feel like just the way things are in society today are also soft. It's a soft time where men are soft, and that's going to create hard times. I think Joe Rogan, he had read he had read a passage or a quote, and I don't remember where from again, but I remember specifically he had read it on his podcast where it said, soft men make hard times make hard men make soft times.
Correct.
So right now it's soft men are making hard times.
There's one player who I think is in the wrong time era right now, and he needs to be back in the 90s because that's where he would fit in best.
Who's that?
Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah, dude. Draymond, dude. He would be right at home in the 80s.
It looks
90s,
like he got taken out of the 90s and placed in today, stepping on people's chest.
Yeah.
No, he didn't step on his chest. He jumped. He put all his body weight on it and jumped off of the dude's chest. And didn't he no, it wasn't him who practically curb stomped somebody. I think it was accidental though. They got their head.
Oh yeah,
stepped
that
on.
was accidental.
That was a couple weeks later.
Damn, who was that?
I don't remember.
But yeah, I remember seeing that too. But yeah, things are so just so soft now. What I'm about to ask you is going to be.
So here's Draymond Green, and dude falls on the ground. He steps in.
I swear, man. Well, that's entertaining as hell, man.
Dude.
It's just damn. But see,
I mean,
that's
I
all
think I
fake,
would be
too,
making that face too if I got my chest stepped on. You think that's fake right there?
Oh,
you
yeah.
think that guy's faking it?
No, he's faking it, man.
How much does Draymond Green weigh?
Yeah, but I mean, I
260?
don't think he put his full weight onto him. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see this real quick.
Look, he steps on him, puts all his body weight on him, and jumps.
Is where the foul came in.
What was he thinking, man? Did he just knew that he wanted to create a highlight?
He looks
out of
like
it, or what?
he looks like a frog
Yeah.
when he jumps off of him. The way his feet fly out when he jumps off the dude's chest, he looks like a frog.
Now, that right there is where the
Telling you, man. Soft times, man. So,
So a better explanation of that, I guess for anybody who doesn't understand, right? So you have a guy who grows up, his father isn't there. His mother is either working 2 jobs or she's prostituting. And this is not me talking shit. This is very real. So this guy grows up having a hard life, right? He's dealing drugs or in gangs and stuff. And he reaches the age where 28, 30, he's smart enough to where the light bulb actually clicks on for him. And he realizes this isn't the right path that I want to be on. And there's something wrong with the environment I'm in. So he starts taking steps in the right direction. And he doesn't have to go to school, but he gets his money right. And he ends up becoming an entrepreneur and getting on the right path. Well, he ends up meeting somebody and having kids, and he has more money than he'll ever need. And his kids grow up, and they grow up with a mother and a father. They get tucked in every single night. They get books read to them. Their needs are met. They have internet. They have cell phones. They always have Wi-Fi. That's apparently life is hard as a kid today if you don't have Wi-Fi. So they have literally everything they want. If the kid's sitting there playing video games, I feel like having some strawberries right now. He asks, Mom, can I have some strawberries? And they have strawberries in the fridge. He gets them whenever he wants. He grows up to be a soft man because he wants for nothing. He wants for nothing.
yeah.
So he grows up and, his college is paid for. Oh, He gets to go to college, and his college is paid for, and he gets to party and do drugs and do all this other stuff because there's no challenge in his life. He's not challenged by anything. He wants for nothing. He doesn't even have to work. When I went to college, I had to work. We worked at SeaWorld, me and you. That's where we met,
Yeah.
right? That's where we met, and then we ended up playing basketball together.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked at SeaWorld going to college. So I would work a full shift at SeaWorld, and then I'd have to go to community college and do my classes. So I was busy 12, 16 hours a day, every day. And then I'd have to do my homework. And I'd have to come home to a dad who, was busy, and he had his own stress going on, and he wasn't exactly the happiest person at that time. So I'd have to deal with that too. Nothing against my dad. I'm just saying that's the way it was. So this kid, all his needs are met. Hey, you know what? When you guys drive up here to the college I'm staying at to come visit me, bring me some moon pies. Whatever he wants. Snaps his fingers, his needs are met. Oh, I need some money so we can go to a concert. We go to a Lil Wayne concert. Okay, yeah, we'll send you money. I mean, what kind of person do you become when you grow up and there's no struggle? There's literally no struggle. You grow up to be a soft person. So then you end up having kids, and as a soft person, you're either not going to be a responsible parent, you're going to abandon your kids because you don't give a shit, or you're going to have your kids, but you're going to make hard times for your kids because you have less self-discipline. You're more likely, in my opinion, if you grow up spoiled, you're more likely to have alcohol problems and drug problems because you have no reason to have self-control. This is not everybody. I'm just saying you have a higher chance of that happening. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so hard times created a hard man, but now things are so good that your kid just has whatever he or she wants. And now that particular child, there's a higher chance of them creating hard times for their child. And if they don't create hard times for their child, if their child has is just as good, they're going to wind up. Look at Joe Biden's son. What's his name? Hunter Biden. He has all kinds. He's the one, right? He has another one that died.
Mm-hmm.
He has all kinds of issues. That guy grew up with everything he wanted because Joe Biden was not broke when Hunter Biden was born. He had everything he wanted. And look what his main focuses are. He had drug problems, partying, doing all this crazy shit. We're not going to get into politics, but that's who I could think of for now. Look at Magic Johnson's son.
Oh, yeah.
Daughter, whatever we got going on there. Dwayne Wade's son, daughter, whatever we got going on there. There's no challenge that focuses your mind on. Let's talk about when we grew up, right?
Yeah.
We grew up in a lower middle class neighborhood, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
We grew up how many miles apart? 2 or 3 miles apart. So, you're not spoiled. You don't have all the money in the world. I think our parents all worked, right? So we spent a lot of time on our own.
Yeah, things were real tight for me and my family. I just know that. We grew up. I mean, my dad did the best to move us out from the west side, which is it's a rough part of San Antonio. I mean, I can't really say the roughest because I feel like San Antonio in general has more rough parts than it does good parts. Like the only thing I can think of was at the time, north and northwest side of San Antonio were probably the more ideal places to raise a family. Everywhere else, it's pretty rough. So he was able to move us out to the northwest side after not being able to make it work for himself and the family and the ministry. So he had to get a job my mom had to get a job too, because before that she was a stay-at-home mom looking after us. So yeah, we moved out here. We were able to live in the nicer part of town, but we were like the poor people on the block, you know. Like we had to ration everything. Like I'll never forget, you know, it was like one soda a day. Even the nut, I'll never forget the Nutty Buddy bars that came in packs of 2. We would have to eat one and share the other one whenever we had.
What?
Yeah, seriously, it was like that. And we would ration water. Couldn't take too long in the shower. If you weren't in the room, you had to make sure the light was off. The AC, of course, had to be set to a certain temperature, which was, you know, tolerable. But yeah, man, I grew up pretty tight, you know, with that. So, and then I had to learn how to cook and everything because my parents weren't there. I had to feed my brothers and myself, you know, after school and everything. So yeah, I mean, I understand some of the struggles.
So you had something to be focused on
Mm-hmm.
rather than what gender you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that this gender identity thing that a lot of kids are dealing with these days, do you think it's mostly kids who have all their needs met? They
Oh,
literally want for nothing. They're so bored that they create challenges in their mind. Now, I don't feel like a boy. I think I'm more of a girl. Do you think that comes about because idle hands? I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Just idle hands. There's nothing forcing them to be challenged, to stay busy with.
Mm-hmm.
So the human mind is such a crazy thing that if you're not challenged enough, you're going to create challenges of
Yeah.
your own that don't need to be there. So
For
do you
sure.
think that's happening in our society?
100%.
Here's why I say that. Who was the last person you saw in a Section 8 part of town telling their parents, I don't think I'm a boy. I think I'm a girl. How likely are you to see that? Where you're worried about getting shot walking down the street or getting robbed, but instead you're like, I wonder what gender I am. Do you think there's validity to that? Or am I just talking out of my ass?
Well, I'll say this much. I think there's always going to be a small outlier, a small percentage of people that, yeah, they do go through that. And I'm not sure if it's exactly kind of forced onto them by the environment they grow up in or anything, but I will say that it's not, I don't believe it to be something that happens without a traumatic experience.
Would you say that outside programming, such as giving a child a phone with full access to the internet, and I think all of us know the horrors that are on the internet, if you want to find them, they are there. The things that children should not be exposed to. If you just give a child a cell phone, just because you need the child to sit still and you don't want to have to deal with your kid, right? Not everybody does that, but some do. Do you think that the child's brain begins to be programmed with stuff from a young age that it shouldn't be programmed with because children's brains are still developing? They say you're not fully mature. Well, at least as a man, you're not fully mature until you're 45, right? So me and you are not 45 yet. So supposedly we are still growing and maturing.
Well, it depends. I mean,
but the human brain isn't fully developed until you're 25,
Right.
according to research.
right.
So that's why alcohol has, maybe on older people, but that's why the age limit for alcohol is 21, because it has to do with the development of the brain for the most part. So do you think that for the same reason children shouldn't be doing drugs and drinking alcohol when their brain's still developing, that maybe it isn't the best thing to be giving your kid full access to the internet. They're not mentally mature enough to handle such a thing before that age. Because I didn't have access to all that stuff before I was like 20, 21, because we didn't have full-blown internet in the house or nothing like that. We didn't have cell phones with internet. We're
Well,
like really branching off. Sorry.
Yeah, well, especially when it comes to kids, yeah, who will believe anything they see. Yeah, that definitely can impact, how they identify and what they're thinking of, especially if they're looking at it all day long. I feel that media and everything we see and hear affects us to some degree, and our subconscious. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like like the more you see something, an advertisement, for instance, if you see it more and more, it's gonna get in there.
What's that movie with Will Smith where he's like a con artist and they prime people's brains to con them?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
He
one.
makes a bet.
But that's with
You know what I'm
Margot
talking
Robbie,
about.
right?
Who?
Margot Robbie is in there.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I haven't haven't seen that one.
Margot
Yeah.
Robbie, yeah. You know what I think when I see Margot Robbie?
What do you think?
We're going to put some D's in some A's.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that Wolf on Wall Street.
So in that movie, I think it starts where there's this very rich businessman, and I don't remember exactly. It's been many years since I've seen it, so forgive me if I get this wrong. But he tells this businessman, I will bet you X amount of money. You could get anybody you want to go pick this certain thing up, and I can bet you which one she's going to pick or whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
So, like I said, I saw it in theaters. I saw it one time. It's a really good movie. It's a psychological thriller, I would assume. They're watching from a building, and she goes down and she picks up this thing, and it's like number 46, I think, something like that. He writes down a number, I think, and she goes and picks a number, and they see it, and it's number 46. And the businessman lost like $50 million or $5 million, something like that. And they're like, how did you do that? And Will Smith's like, I got to go. See you later. And throughout the movie, they keep on planting the number 46. And like I said, I'm getting this wrong because it's been a while since I've seen this movie. But they keep on planting the number 46 so that this lady and this guy will keep on seeing it over and over and over. They planned to get to this moment. So it was primed in his brain, 46. And that's what they picked.
Damn. 46, huh?
Well,
that's how old
I'm
you
not
are, isn't
sure. I'm not sure if that's what the number is exactly, but it was something like that. And I forgot the name of it. Let's see. But so what I do talk about a lot is that your brain is a sponge, and your brain is going to get programmed with whatever is in its environment, whether you want it to or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be around a bunch of people who are like, what's up, motherfucker, and talking like that. And as much as you want, you could try to ignore it. But eventually you're going to start talking like that. As long as you keep being in that environment, you're going to start using those words and talking like that.
That's true.
That's why it's important to be careful what you subject your brain to. So the movie is called Focus.
There you go.
Okay, Focus. It's a psychological movie. And in the movie, it's American crime comedy drama. I don't know about comedy. I don't remember anything being funny about it. Yeah, but yeah, Margot Robbie. So yeah, he tricks this guy and into picking this number, and He actually cheated, right? And because for weeks they had been conning. It's a con.
They're
You're
setting
priming somebody's
okay.
brain.
Yeah.
You're programming somebody's brain without them knowing it,
Huh.
leading up to a final event for them to pick a certain number because you know they're going to pick it because you designed it to be that way.
That's pretty
Right?
slick.
If you show somebody the number 3 all day, and at the end of the day you ask them to pick the number, you ask them to pick a number, they're more likely to pick number 3.
It's pretty solid. Yeah. I can see
So goes back to my question. You give a child untethered access to the internet,
that. Mm-hmm.
and they're seeing things about gender identity crisis
And who they should
and
be. And,
trannies and being triggered and all this woke stuff.
yeah.
What are the chances? What's the likelihood? How much does it increase the possibility that they are going to go down that road eventually? If you don't keep them busy with enough challenges and things to figure out for themselves and they're bored, what are the chances they are going to just be confused? Their brain is still developing. They're not even focused on the fundamentals. They're focused on stuff that, number one, is for adults. It's topics for adults, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, they're not being kept busy enough. And they're allowed to just program their brain with that stuff. I think it's detrimental. My personal opinion, without pissing too many people off, is that it's detrimental to our society right now, and it's only going to keep heading in that direction more. And I know for sure with my children, they're not going to have untethered access to the internet. I'm sorry, you're not old enough or mature enough to handle it.
Do you think that? Well, for one, let me ask you this: do you believe that there's going to be Social Security retirement available to us when we get to that age?
They are talking about right now trying to pass laws. The governor of Florida, DeSantis, DeSanctimonious, trying to raise it to age 70.
Yep.
But when we reach that age, 65, do I think it's still going to be around?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that?
I think because we have, I think certain segments of AI is going to start helping the government, people within the government figure out certain problems that we're having. And I think the math is going to get better. I think we will still have it, but AI is going to figure out errors in the math. And AI is going to be able to do math and calculations so well that we will be able to more accurately plan how much we should charge in taxes and why over the course of a 50 to 100 year period. It's going to be able to predict what the economy is going to do, down to how many people we'll have on Earth just by predicting human behavior, much more accurately than humans can. I'm not saying it's going to be completely accurate, much more accurately than humans can. And I think, I'm not going to say yes for sure, but I think it's going to be a high possibility that Social Security will still be around. Do I think it's going to be as generous? I don't know if you'd call it generous today. Do I think it's still going to be as generous as it is today? Maybe not. I think, so Social Security works, right, by people actually working and it being that money taken out of their paycheck and given to the government, and supposedly it's being saved under that person's name, right? So over the course of 30 or 40 years, the government says, you've worked 30 or 40 years, this is how much money you have there. And over we're going to predict how long the rest of your life is going to be, and this is how much your payments are going to be, so that by the time we predicted your life is going to end, you should run out of money by that time. Is that the way that Social Security is designed to work?
Well, that sounds like that's how it should work. However, I don't believe that the government is just saving our money and stowing it away and be like, "Yo, yeah, this is here for you, and we're not going to use it or touch it." It's kind of like the bank system.
Yeah, in the ideal world.
Yeah, in the ideal world, that's how it would run. I feel, and this is what I'm kind of trying to get to here, is it's solely based on the population. How many people are working currently that can, a fraction of their paycheck goes to your Social Security retirement pension fund, whatever you want to call it. So that being said, if there's less people working, I mean, and the baby boomers are the largest generation to be on retirement, or if they're not already being on retirement, they will be soon. And with the families that have gotten smaller over the years, and then even till today, people aren't having as many kids, or not even families. I think that's going to greatly impact how much money is going to be waiting for us by the time we get to that age. And here's where I'm going with this. This whole, like, the world is ending type of mentality or idea, which to me it seems very real. Do you think that plays a part in this younger generation's mind? Like, hey, so for us right now, their parents, right? If our parents aren't going to have much of anything left when they get there to retirement age, what hope do I have for myself? So then, maybe they think, okay, well, I mean, you would think that they would start thinking about greater problems like saving money for that, coming up to that. But instead, maybe that's also just like making them go crazy, and they don't know who they are anymore. And they feel, okay, well, maybe I'm more of a girl, or I feel like a guy, or whatever. And it starts playing into this whole gender identity thing. What do you think? Do you think that factors in at all, or no? Or do you think it should
I don't think those
sway them the other way?
I don't think those two things are related at all. I think the people who are focused on the gender identity thing are not even beginning to think about their money or their future, right? I think the type of people who do the gender identity thing are emotionally out of control. They lack emotional self-discipline. Number one.
Okay,
right?
that's agreed. Yeah.
So, in the same room with that lack of emotional self-discipline, people who are irresponsible with money. I'm writing a book right now called How to Quit Being Broke. People who are irresponsible with money are more likely to be out of control of their emotions. I think financial irresponsibility and emotional lack of control go hand in hand. They're best friends.
Yeah.
And so I think the problem with, let's say there's a chance that Social Security will not be around 20 years from now. What needs to happen to ensure that us and the generations around us are going to grow up and have some sort of security? This is just my opinion. Is that the educational system is going to have to make some major adjustments, and they are going to have to start educating on an entrepreneurship level and teaching people Quit educating people to be worker bees and to be obedient worker bees and how to balance your checkbook and all this bullshit that they're teaching now. Because basically, the education system today is teaching you that if you just do these things, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And back in the 60s, that was the case. That was okay back in the 60s. Our economy was much more stable. Things were much more affordable. The balance was there.
Mhm.
We have a much more imbalanced economy now. So, if Social Security, number one, are there people making Social Security right now or getting Social Security checks that sat on their ass for 40 years and didn't do shit, but they can still draw Social Security? Is there such a thing? There are people who are getting it that didn't contribute to it?
I don't think so.
It's an interesting question, right? Because I've seen people getting Social Security that don't look to me like they work for 40 years,
Mhm.
right? It's like, how did you put into it? Where did you work? So I think what will have to happen is, as a society, I don't know if it's just in the world, just in the United States or in the world, school curriculum will have to change to, number one, get children thinking in problem solving mode. Identify problems now, identify problems that are going to come up in the future by being able to study human behavior and look at the course it's headed to and be able to identify what problems are going to be a problem when it gets there. And then number two, proactively think of solutions ahead of time and who the solutions are going to be for and how to implement those solutions so that we can be ahead of the curve, knowing that society's headed in this direction. Let's have a solution ready in that time. And that's entrepreneurship, that people are going to have to learn to make their own money and quit relying on the government to give them a paycheck. Something interesting about that is what happens to somebody who never has to work for their money. They aren't challenged on a daily basis and they don't have to focus on solving the problems or challenges in front of them. Is some, I don't know for sure if it's all reservations. I don't think it is, but I do know for sure. I know someone who is related to me who works on Native American reservations with children. And as you know, Native Americans had it pretty bad and they all got put on reservations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Native Americans are still to this day very, very pissed off about, of course, people from England and Britain. Where did they come from? England and Britain?
Talking about Native Americans?
When America was first colonized when it first became America. Britain
from
and England?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Native Americans to this day are still feeling victimized, which rightfully so, about being taken over and conquered and having all their land taken away, and then they get stuck in their own little areas. The amount of drug use and alcoholism and family violence and dysfunction is so crazy high on these reservations. Unless there are horrible atrocities happening, American government cannot step in because reservations have their own tribal council. They have their own police. They have their own government. They have their own courts. What's happening on these reservations, what these reparation checks have done to their society. And when I say society, I mean within the boundaries of the reservation. It's destroyed them, destroyed the reservations. They don't have a high functioning society the way we do. There's a large number of alcoholics. There's a large percentage of people who use drugs. There's a large percentage of men who are not taking care of their children. Sorry, I'm getting my words twisted up. There's a high amount of domestic violence and dysfunction within families. So this person that I'm related to is a counselor, psychological counselor, and they help children. And they were talking to me about it, and they were telling me it's alarming. It's absolutely sickening how much dysfunction. And what is the one common denominator?
Governmental assistance.
Governmental assistance. They don't have to work for those checks. If a shark stops swimming, it dies, right? It needs the stress. Bees. If bees can't fly, they'll die. If flies can't fly, they'll die. They need that constant exercise. It's called eustress. So you have something called stress, which is, I think it's de-stress, or I'm not sure. It's eustress and then a negative stress. Eustress is a positive stress, like lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stress is good for you. Kind of stress that's bad for you is being in a car accident. Stress on your body is traumatic stress, not good for you. So as human beings, mentally, we need eustress for our minds in order to continue moving in the right direction and have a healthy, functioning mind. Man, I really branched off. I apologize.
It's all good, man.
It's going to be a nice evening.
All right, so yeah, keeping on topic with what we've been discussing about the whole.
It sounds feminine.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, so a few months ago, they did a poll, and the research has shown that there's a lot of young men out there that are still single and are not even interested in seeking out a relationship or dates. And this is coming from the Pew Research Center.
Pew?
Pew, P-E-W, research.
P-E-W.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back in 2019, percentage of single males in the U.S. seeking a relationship or a date even was at 61%. And last year, it dropped to 50%.
What year was that?
So the 61% was in 2019. And then in 2022, last year, it dropped down to 50%. So it dropped a whole 11%.
In 3 years.
Yeah. A whole 11%. And who knows what it'll be for 2023. But is this concerning? Is this something that we should be worried about?
I don't know about concerning. The only impact that this is going to have, if this is real, it's going to impact our population, right? And people who don't know any better are going to be like, hell yeah, we need population reduction. We got too many goddamn people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did that voice. I guess, but it's not good. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, the world's smartest people are all saying no, we do not need a population reduction. It's happening in China right now. China had the rule where per family, you could only have one child and you needed permission to have more than one.
Right.
I
remember
and that started 20 or 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, they're having a population issue with military-aged males. They don't have enough. And military-aged people or working-age people are what keep the economy going. They're employees. So when you don't have enough people to be employees and you don't have enough people making money and spending money, you don't have enough people to join the military, your whole society begins to degrade. We need human beings in our society, people to keep the hamster wheel turning.
Yeah.
So I think that's a problem. Because let's say that we didn't evolve from like Stardust, right? Mm-hmm. But who cares whether we evolved or we were created? Let's say that over time, as we replicate, right? As we reproduce over time, let's say that what we do to ourselves becomes part of our DNA, and that continues to get passed down through the genes. Well, the reason I think that the number of men interested in dating would be dropping is because the abundance of porn, and their brain is so overstimulated through dopamine releases that we need dopamine to be social with each other, right? We need dopamine to be social and to get the reward from going out and associating with women and having fun and getting to know them, and the challenge of pursuing them and trying to fuck them, which is the ultimate reward. You see this girl and you're like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I can't imagine what it must be like to have sex with her. Right. And then you start at step number 1. I'm going to go talk to her. I'm going to see if I have a chance. You go and talk to her. She likes you. She gives you her phone number. Step 2, you start texting her on the phone. Back in the day when we were younger, we would actually call them on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And you do that whole thing. Got papers. We got things just randomly moving in here. You do that whole thing where you call them on the phone and you hear their voice and you get to know them, and you would do that thing. Did you ever fall asleep on the phone with a girl?
Oh yeah.
She'd fall asleep and you'd just be sitting there like a creep listening to her breathing. And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna listen to you sleep.
I know,
All
right?
Weird. You remember that?
Explain
We
that
were
to a
like
guy
in-
these days.
They wouldn't even. They would be like, fall asleep on the phone. What the hell are you talking about? Right. So we would do all that. Right. That was part of the journey. That was part of our dopamine release.
That was part of courting.
That was part of courting. That was part of our reward. And then the next thing was to get them out on a date, right? You go out on a date, you see them in person, you're looking at them, you're thinking about how much you like them, and that gradually escalates to the point where you touch them, right? You hold their hand, or you touch their leg, or you put your arm around them, and then it goes to kissing. And then once you build up that comfort, then it goes to fucking.
Yeah.
Like right there in front of everybody. No. It was a gradual buildup.
Yeah.
And today,
More and more intimate. Yeah.
it was a gradual buildup to get that release, right? To be able to bust that nut. And
Well, I think.
now you just watch porn.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, even along
It was
those,
hard to get porn magazines back then.
even making those trips up, like those when you met that goal or whatever, like, oh, I got to touch her hand, I got to hold her hand, I got to get a kiss tonight, I got to, I got to feel upon her, and then, oh, this time I got
gotta
inside the
touch a-
shirt.
I gotta touch
this
a
time,
boob.
Yeah, this time I got inside there,
And then
I
you
was
like smell your hand.
yeah.
You're like, man, her boob. Her
all
boob
those
smells good.
little checkpoints that you were hitting, you were getting those hits of dopamine. You know what I mean?
You're accomplishing.
Yeah.
You're setting a goal and you're reaching it.
Yeah. Because you have the anticipation, right? So you get the anticipation build, and then you get the release when you get
In your pants.
or not even so much that, just in your
just
brain.
kidding.
But yeah, I mean, definitely in the pants comes with a massive explosion of dopamine, massive release. So
I like that.
So you have, so now with porn, you have the shortcut to that intense release, and
It's not just physical, it's mental.
yeah.
You go through this mental journey that feels good.
Yeah. And so it's like with that, it's almost kind of like it's cheap dopamine is what it is, because you don't have to work for it.
Discount
Yeah.
dopamine.
Yep. It is. It's less work, and no, you don't really have to have a whole lot of patience with people. Human interaction kind of withers away. So yeah, it's yeah, porn is definitely a major factor in that, I believe, in that drop. That, and it's even to this day it's free. You know, you used to have to pay for that shit. You used to had to buy the magazines, buy the videotapes, you know. So in some form you had to pay for it. These days you don't really have to pay for it. You just need Wi-Fi.
That's it.
Yeah, and you have free access, and there's an abundance of it that's never ending. You got amateur porn,
New
you
crazy
got
things.
porn stars, you got hell, man, you got some crazy shit that I don't even want to talk about. But let's just say Bullspittin. All right.
In my pants.
Yeah. And you know what?
Soup kitchen. It's pretty rough stuff.
And to go along with the other side of it, right? The companionship side of it, right? Because it's more than just sex, right? When you're talking about relationships and courting and dating, there's the other part. There's the human element, where now that we see the introduction of AI, you can literally talk to this artificial intelligence, this being that was created to think and respond just like a regular human. And this is only the beginning stages, folks. Like, imagine how it's going to be 2 years from now, even. It's going to be so advanced. Robotics, too. I don't know if you've looked up at how far robotics has come along. But
I think AI is going to push robotics to a level that we couldn't even think of.
yeah. Imagine when you combine a high level of AI with a high level of robotics. And remember this, I don't know if you know about those sex dolls that they make in Japan, where it looks like they're getting real close to looking like natural women.
I have not.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say they're real close yet, but they're pretty close. Like, they can get like it to, talk back to you and, just kind of be almost well, in essence, it's a synthetic human. That's what we're getting.
You'll be able
towards.
to program whatever you want. You'll be able to
Exactly.
design the voice.
Exactly.
Say whatever you want to
Imagine,
say to you.
Yeah, imagine if you could have like
You come home and it just bends over on the bed.
Yeah, imagine if you could have like the perfect companion, where they'll never say anything out of line unless you want them to. Never have a fight unless you want to have a fight with it. Program it to do that, and then you can even have sex with it.
It just like gives you a blowjob while you're eating Cheetos and watching the basketball game, and it doesn't talk. It turns the volume up for you.
Yeah. Now imagine that, and you don't have to deal with a whole lot of, you have to deal with humans.
It like brings you a bucket, and you could just shit in the living room in a bucket, and it'll wipe your ass for you.
No, the robot will come and be like, shit on my chest. How about my face today?
And then the robot just carries it to the toilet. Like the robot just makes a bowl with its hands, and you shit in its hands, and it wipes your ass for you with like wet wipes, and it has like the best cameras, so it makes sure it's clean and it's gentle. And then it takes it to the toilet and flushes it for you.
And imagine you could swap out the gender parts. You know what I mean? If you wanted to play both sides of the field.
Ooh.
That's gonna really yeah. I mean,
You don't want that thing.
I'm not interested.
You don't
in
want
that
thing
but,
malfunctioning while it's like ramming you.
But I mean, like just with the way society is going today, especially with the gender fluidity, imagine having that, then you're really gonna be disassociated from society. You still have to.
You'll never leave the house.
Yeah. Because look, here's the thing. I really think that this whole gender identity thing didn't. I mean, it was there, but it was on a very, very smaller scale, and it was not publicized as it is today. Like, it is in your face, down your throat, no pun intended. Type of delivery.
Up your ass.
Yeah, up your every which way. They're trying to fill every orifice of your body with this transgender ideology. And I think it really came into fruition after 2020. I personally believe that people really got to just be in their heads for too long and be away from society for too long, that when people came out, they came out different with different ideas and, you know,
What do you
things they
mean they
wanted
were
to
away from society? What does that mean?
oh, and when everyone was in quarantine.
Oh, you think that this got way worse?
Yeah.
You think somehow the quarantine thing, like this thing incubated and just became.
That's my theory. I mean, can I prove it? No. Do I believe it? Yes.
I have an interesting, mind blowing theory. It blows my mind. I have a theory about all of this woke stuff. I think it's safe to say that most of the woke stuff comes from Democratic voting and Democratic minded people. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's so far left. Yeah.
So I can say that. So let's move forward with that. I have a theory, and I don't remember where or how I thought of this, and I've never heard nobody say this. But I think, remember how we were talking about we're going to have a society that thinks ahead and tries to solve problems in advance. Here's what I think. I think there's some evil genius happening and nobody's seeing it. And the evil genius is that they are trying to program, starting at a very, very, very young age, in elementary school, no coincidence there, with drag shows and everything.
Yeah.
They're trying to program future voters to vote Democratic. And they're trying to reach them at a young age. So, like I said, it's just my opinion, just a theory, that if you want to rule the government, all Democrats or whatever, let's say your ultimate agenda, all Democrats in the government in the future, the way to do it is you have to start by brainwashing people early on to make sure that 15, 20 years from now, you're going to have voters, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Didn't Germany do that? Germany had Hitler Youth Camp to make sure,
Yes.
in the 30s, to make sure that by 1945, I mean, they didn't plan it to be that date. I'm not comparing Democrats to Nazis. Let's get that straight. I'm just speaking on something that's relative.
Relatable.
Relatable, that they thought in advance we need to get to the youth to get them thinking on a certain wavelength, so that when we need them in the future, we have them by the mind.
Right.
If you have somebody by the mind, they're a robot for you. You can get them to do anything you want. So my theory is, if you can get to the children at a young enough age and influence them to think like a Democrat, you can control them when they're older, and all you got to do is tell them to go vote, and you can accurately predict what they're going to vote for. They're going to vote for Democratic, but you have to program their mind to think in a Democratic way, starting from a young age, because what you learn from age 0 to 5, and even from 5 to 10, usually sticks with you for the rest of your life. You have to go do some major programming overhaul to really get rid of that stuff. So what you learn from a young age is going to stick with you for life. Why not try to target people and get them thinking on that level from a super early age to make sure you have Democratic voters in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds far-fetched, but if you really think about it, if you were high up in the government, would you do that?
Yeah.
Would it at least be a topic you'd bring to the table and be like, hey, I got an idea. If we want to make sure that 20 years from now we are in control, why not try to get our future voters? Why not try to influence them now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how are you going to do that, Bob? I think how do we get our agenda in elementary schools, right? How do we get them thinking on that path? Oh, where are all the emotionally influenceable, the people who are easy? It's easy to influence their emotions, and it's easy to influence the way they think, and it's easy to influence the way they behave. Where are we most likely to find them? TikTok. We're most likely to find them on Facebook. We're most likely to find them on social media. My opinion, it's just my opinion, people who are weak-minded, a lot of a lot of weak-minded people, a lot of emotionally weak people spend a lot of time on social media, not thinking for themselves. Because I know a lot of people who are very mentally strong and they're repulsed by social media. Naturally, they're repulsed by it. They're like, no, get that thing away from me. You know, I'm not saying anything about myself, but I can't stand social media. I don't use it. I don't like looking at what other people are doing and having my brain influenced by other people. I don't like that. I like thinking for myself. So if I was evil genius, I think I would try to get my voters as soon as I can. How do I warp their brain? And in their opinion, it's not warping their brain. It's getting them to think on the right track. In their opinion,
It's grooming. That's what it is.
grooming. There you go, grooming. And it's disgusting, but I think that's what's going on. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's a high possibility. If it's not going on, I think it's a high possibility. They're trying to target children as early as possible.
Oh, yeah. They're totally doing that right now.
Using the Will Smith focus movie approach by planting little visual cues here and there to slowly prime their brain, like what we talked about.
Yeah. No, because, I mean, how many times do you, can you turn on the TV and I could say specifically, there's a Dr. Phil episode that I watched where you had voices from both sides of the subject on the transgender ideology. So you had this transgender couple who were both born male, okay, and they're now transgender women, both of them. So they're both now identify as, or actually, hold on. One identifies as a she, her, and her partner, I believe they're married, identifies as a they, them. So kind of like in the middle, right? So, but if you look at both of them, they look like guys. I mean, and the one that's real feminine even has a beard and really long hair, like really nice long hair, wears makeup and everything, and has nails and stuff. Yeah, it's completely like just trying to be in the gray area, like all the way 100%. And both of them, you can tell that, you know, they were born male and they are males, if you ask me, posing as females. So you had their opinions on the subject.
So posing as a female but still has a beard.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then you had to help, and it was these two. It was this couple against I can't remember the guy's name, but he has been going around nationwide.
Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson.
He made a book. He's an author. He made a children's book about gender, or not so much about the gender ideology, but
against it or for it?
Against it, yeah.
Is it called Gender Madness?
Might be the first one.
The first one, boys, girls. Okay. God made boys and girls. That one.
Maybe not.
Marty Makowski.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like there's a lot more.
But it looks like
coming
there's
out.
several people doing it. Why not? You know.
So, anyways, so you had this author that was conservative, and they were having a little debate about this topic and where they stood on it. And then they got a Harvard professor in on it that was on the side for gender ideology. And then you had the parents of children on the other side with the author, siding with the author, because they are saying that at their schools, the teachers of their kids have been talking about, oh, you don't know if you're a boy or a girl yet. You're trying to figure that out, blah, blah, blah. And they're coming home confused as heck and asking their parents about this and what they weigh in on this or whatever. And the parents are just beside themselves trying to explain this to a kid who should be learning their ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. Like,
Yeah, they should be learning basic English
Mm-hmm.
and communication skills.
yeah. So so right now that if that is true, which it seems like it is, and it's probably if
it's
this
gotta
is
be
one
true.
elementary school in the nation, then how many more are doing this, right? So it's obviously pushed by the education system in the agenda to usurp the ABCs 1, 2, 3. Like no. Let's talk about this first because this is important, and the ABCs and everything else can follow after that.
Who in their right mind thinks that a child that young, that it's even important for them to learn that? Why? It makes no sense. Children are
Well,
interested
exactly
in
what you were
playing.
saying.
They're interested in playing.
What you were saying though, it's enacted by the government to get the voters early.
Yeah, because schools have to follow. The curriculum, they don't leave it up to the school. They don't just tell the school, hey, you teach whatever you want. Teachers that are going rogue are getting in trouble. Even if it's against the screwed up curriculum, they're getting in trouble for it. The curriculum is decided by the state and the government overall. And it's
Yeah.
been like that since we were in school in the 80s.
Yeah.
Shows how old we are.
Yeah.
We were in school in the 80s, and it's still like that. But thank God we didn't learn that crap, right?
Yeah. But to be fair, if we're going to even talk about this topic, the government's been screwing us from day one with this curriculum that we're still following that is like so outdated. And that's why like everybody doesn't know how to start their own business, doesn't know how to get their own house, doesn't know how to get a car, doesn't know how to negotiate. All these tactics that you would need to become successful, we're completely devoid of.
You know how everybody says the government deliberately doesn't teach you that because they want you to stay a worker bee? I think I just said that. Right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I don't think it's intentional. I think it's because at the time there wasn't enough information out there to figure out how to simplify it and add it into the curriculum. So I think in this day and age, it would be more possible to start teaching entrepreneurialism. And it starts with, right, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, number one, you got to learn to control your emotions. And that's any facet of life. If you're good at controlling your emotions, you're going to be more successful at it because your emotions get in the way of anything you're trying to do. That's called emotional intelligence. So you have to start by teaching children that whatever happens, it's not the end of the world. Suck it up, process what happened, move on. Suck it up, process what happened, move on. Don't stay stuck on it for weeks. It's not good for your mind to keep on just rehashing. Shit happens. Move on.
Yeah.
Right?
Gather yourself,
make
a
dust
plan,
your knees off,
move forward.
Emotional intelligence. Then to be successful in business, you have to have social intelligence. You have to know how to communicate with people. You have to know how the mind works. You have to know what's going on in other people's minds. While you're speaking to them, you have to know what kind of reaction is happening within their brain and what's going on within your brain. And what is the most efficient way to communicate with people in order to get the result you are looking for? That's called social intelligence. Those are the first two things you start off teaching in school. I don't believe that back in the 70s or 80s when it was decided, maybe it was the 60s, when it was decided that we are going to have a standard curriculum across all states or across the nation or whatever, and each state is allowed to alter this curriculum a little bit. I don't think that this information was as developed as it is today, and they weren't able to teach it, right? So you have the show Mindhunters is about the FBI when they created their psychological analysis division to solve crimes. Have you seen that show?
Mm-mm.
So this guy came up this guy came up with the idea that let's see if we can figure out who the killer is through looking at the psychological aspects of this. And he got made fun of. Like everybody was making fun of him, right? And it was real. It started, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, maybe in the 80s, but I think it's 60s or 70s when the psychological investigation unit in the FBI actually started. And when they saw it started working, then it grew from there. But it started just from two guys who were given a chance to show that they're not idiots, right? So I don't believe that it's designed. I don't think that people, I think society as a whole, they automatically, so when you have a lack of information, what you do is you fill in the void with crazy thoughts from your own mind. And it's usually thoughts that are on the extreme end of the spectrum, right? With what you don't know. Oh, I haven't heard from the girlfriend in 6 hours. Whose dick is she sucking? You know, it's not that she's at the grocery store and she's just taking her time and she's taking some time to herself. She's had a stressful few weeks and she just needs some time alone. You know, it's, oh, what guy are you with? You know, the human mind just automatically assumes the worst. So I think it's natural of people to assume that the government is this all-knowing entity comprised of human beings that are 3 times smarter than society, and they have full control over us. It doesn't work that way. The government is comprised of people who are just as dumb as me and you. Simple as that. So I think this whole curriculum thing was not evil genius. I think it's just that at the time it seemed like the best thing for society as a whole to get society up to a certain standard. And now we're at the point in society where we need to revamp the education system and what kids are being taught a lot, because now it's going to this racial thing. Oh, well, you're never going to reach this level because you're black. You're never going to reach this level because you're Mexican. Oh, well, you feel like a girl. Well, if people make fun of you, it's not because it's unnatural. It's because they're hateful and they're learning it from their parents and they're Republicans and they're hateful. You know, all this crap is being taught in schools. In order for society to move in the right direction financially, right? If there was a chance that the Social Security would be wiped out, the only thing that's going to save us is entrepreneurialism, coming up with solutions. Entrepreneurs are what make the entrepreneurs are what make the United States run. Period. Every single business you go to every day and buy from, it was started by an entrepreneur. Somebody who thought, hey, I have this idea and I think I'm going to try to make this work. Some of them wanted to make a crap load of money. Some of them wanted to solve problems. Some of them wanted to do both. Elon Musk with Tesla doesn't care about making money. He said it. The money isn't important to me. It's about setting a goal and reaching the goal and seeing the difference I can make in humanity. That's all he cares about. But the education system, I don't think it's I don't think it's designed to turn us into worker bees. I think that's just the result of doing the best we could at the time with the information we had. And now it's time to take a deep, hard look at it and start teaching entrepreneurialism to the general public to see what direction it'll take us in the next 50 years, especially with AI coming. We're going to need more brains figuring out how to put a damper on this thing. Because if we remain as stupid as we are in general as a society, we're going to get stomped on by AI.
You don't think that AI is going to actually do the reverse and have us dependent on its information, where we don't have to know anything off the top of our heads?
We're gonna see manipulation and deceit 5 times beyond the level of human comprehension.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, misinformation is going to spread like a wildfire.
Because AI is going to figure out how to deceive humans so badly that I think people say, oh, that sounds crazy. AI is going to be the end of humanity. I don't think people understand. Honestly, I don't think people get it. Our brains are a computer, and our brains work exactly the way these supercomputers work. Is that it takes information. We get information in our brain, and once we get enough information, we're able to detect patterns. And then we use those patterns to predict what things are going to happen and what people are going to do. And then we use information we learned from seeing patterns come true to be able to just put pieces of the puzzle together, right? That's how our brain works. AI does that 1 million times faster than the human brain. And AI has an unlimited capacity for information. The more we learn, like let's say we have a door in the front of our head and we have a door in the back of our head, right? This is just for conceptual purposes. When we learn something, for the most part, something else exits the back.
Correct.
Our brain reaches capacity. Eventually, the more we learn, the more we're going to forget about something else.
Yeah, I know.
AI doesn't have that limitation.
I've been recently forgetting stuff from my past that, because I've been learning new things.
The more I learn, the more I forget about my childhood.
Yeah.
The more I learn, the more I forget about my first job, because I think it's a survival. I think it's a way of surviving, that our brain displaces what we're no longer using, what we're not actively using.
Correct. Yeah. So what do you think? We already know the cons about the population decline. What are some of the pros that you can think of? What are some of the positive things about a population decline that you can think of?
Less, you're going to have less people. I mean, these are just small things, but you're going to have less people littering.
So pollution, yeah.
Pollution.
Less pollution.
Littering. There's more space, literally.
Less resource consumption.
Less resource consumption and less space being taken up by people. But you have to remember, resources are resourced by people. If a resource takes processing to create, it takes people to do it. The less people you have, the harder it is to make that resource, right? You have an overabundance of people, it's going to be easy to find people to help make that resource. But positive, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of positive things about less population. The less people you have, the harder life gets, in my opinion. I believe you reach a certain breaking point of there's too many people on Earth. I think India is overpopulated. Supposedly China is overpopulated. Whatever countries are overpopulated, I think they can see what that breaking point looks like. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Earth or the world entirely, I don't think the world has reached that breaking point. I don't know if you've heard this. This was years ago I heard this. I don't know how true this is, but they say you can fit the entire human population in the state of Texas. That's how much Earth we have.
Damn.
They say every man, woman, and child alive. This was years ago. I'm talking 2 billion people ago, that you can fit everybody in the state of Texas. Yeah. I don't know how true that is, but let's see. Here it is. Can you fit every person in the world in Texas? And it says no. Texas is about 170 million acres. And it's just like this. Calculations like this, instead of having to rely on smart people, AI will figure it out like that. The Earth's population is 7.4 billion. You could give everyone in the United States a half acre in Texas. In theory, a half acre is pretty good size. In theory, you could house the entire population of Earth into Texas at a population density of 27,000 people per square mile. Can you really put the entire population of Earth into the state of Texas? Why does it say no, but it says in theory? Okay, so let's pretend Texas was flat. In theory, you probably could. And what year was this in to make sure that this is current? This was 4 years ago, right? So let's say you could fit 90% of people. So I don't think we're at risk of overpopulating the earth in our lifetime.
But what about pollution? Do you believe in the global warming?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's a good answer. I like that answer.
I believe that the earth goes through climate cycles. I don't know for sure. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure. But there are scientists and researchers who are a lot smarter than us. And they are able to look at samples of Earth, and they're able to look at different areas in the world that show that X amount of years ago, this place was frozen. Now it's a desert. And X amount of years ago, this place was a desert, and now it's full of water. 20,000 years ago, they say Egypt was full of water. The Sphinx shows water erosion, like 10 feet up, 15, 20 feet up high. Lots and lots and lots of water erosion all over it. So something interesting. I think I heard this on Joe Rogan. Yeah, it was on Joe Rogan. It was, I don't know if he's an archaeologist. Let's just say researcher. He took pictures of the Sphinx, but he didn't show what it was. You couldn't identify what it was by looking at the picture. You could just see that it's some piece of structure. Showed it to well-renowned, well-respected people in the world of archaeology. Would you say that this is rain erosion? The person said yes. That's 100% rain erosion. Okay. Showed it to the next person. What would you say this is? Well, it looks like water erosion. Okay. And then let's say he asked a couple people. And again, I'm just paraphrasing. And then he showed them what it is. And they said, no, you do not go public with that. No, I did not say that. Because these people are afraid of being embarrassed. Because there's a lot of things that have been published. And there's a lot of things being taught in school and in college and stuff that new evidence is starting to show is wrong. And there are there are prestigious people out there who don't want to be embarrassed, and they are going above and beyond to silence people to keep them from showing this new evidence to people, to show that we were right when we wrote that book in 1980. We were right. And you are not going to release new evidence to show that we're wrong. And there's even egos in the field of archaeology. People like threatening each other and crazy shit.
Damn.
What was your question?
The pros of population decline.
Yeah. So how the hell did we get on that subject?
You started talking about global, or I asked you about global.
Oh,
warming.
you asked me about global warming. Okay. So that was me trying to show that we are often wrong about things.
Okay.
So I am actually seeing that our weather here in San Antonio is getting weird, right?
Mm-hmm. So
I do think every couple hundred or thousand, we've been keeping track of the weather in Texas daily since the 1800s, right? And if you take every single day from the 1800s, you do notice patterns. You do notice patterns in our region, right? But I don't believe humans live long enough to see the eventual shifts in weather patterns and stuff. But in the same way, Galileo, who was it that got made fun of for saying that the sun is the center is the center of the universe and not the earth? Remember, they used to think the earth was the center of the universe. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
So back in the 1700s, they thought the earth was the center of the universe. Churches, it was taught in church. If you said different, dude, If you said different, you were ridiculed, made fun of. They ruined your fucking life.
So I definitely couldn't go up to the pastor after his
no, you just
sermon and be like, I heard different.
Yeah. So let's see. Earth, center of universe. So the geocentric model is a superseded description of the universe with Earth at the center.
Geocentric model. Okay.
Okay, so historic dispute. So
Yeah.
let me see, who was it that sun is center of universe?
I mean, you know that I'm surprised I never thought
Copernicus. So Copernicus, right? It was one of these people. I don't want to waste too much time looking, but it was one of these people who it was either, and it was also, remember, it was also believed that the earth was flat.
Yeah. So Copernicus is the one that said it straight, that he was the one that said the sun is the center of the system, of the universe, I guess.
So what I'm trying to say is that throughout history, when modern held beliefs have been not only questioned, but there's been an effort to prove them wrong, people have been criticized and people have gone out of their way to silence them. So it used to be believed that the earth was flat, and then somebody came along and said, hey, earth is round, dipshits. Like, go stand on a fucking mountain. You can see the shape of the earth. What the hell's the matter with you? And then there was studies they did to experiments they did to show that the earth was round, and people went out of their way to ruin their fucking lives. Well, it's the same way with the earth being the center of the universe. When somebody said, hey, earth is not the center of the universe, look at the planets and study the patterns. If earth was the center of the universe, we would see this, but instead we're seeing this. And that is, that shows that the sun's the center of the universe, not the earth, you know? And people went out of their way to ruin their lives. You just have to do your research. I'm not going to sit here and Google all this right now. So what I think is going to happen, I think we are in the middle of a period right now where we are in the middle of flat earth and earth center of the universe theory when it comes to climate. Once again, we as humans are so arrogant and narcissistic and egotistical that we have written books and we've made up our mind about the way the weather works and the way the earth works. And we're going to stick to that no matter what. Anybody who says different, we're going to ruin their fucking lives and embarrass them. Because if we've written books, we've gotten Nobel Prizes, we've gotten awards for this, and we're going to defend it at all costs. We're not going to be open-minded to try to say, maybe we're wrong. And this person seems very smart. And this person seems like they know what they're talking about. Let's try to help them. Let's try to support them. Let's see if we can figure out what the truth is. Humans aren't doing that. They've built their whole career off these ideas. And to say we were wrong, our whole career was built off of something that was wrong, nobody in their right mind is going to do that, period. This happens with politicians. This happens with astronomers. This happens with archaeologists. This happens in every field you could think of. Happens in aviation. But in aviation, when it becomes, you find out information's wrong, that's putting people's lives in jeopardy, they're going to override that information quick. They don't care how you feel. But there's no one's safety in jeopardy when it comes to archaeology and astronomy and climate change. So I do believe a percentage of what we're doing on Earth does affect our climate. But I don't believe it's warming our, maybe greenhouse gases is real, the greenhouse gas effect, but maybe it's not affecting our Earth as badly as they say it is. Maybe there's a degree of truth to everything everybody's saying, but what the percentage is, we don't know.
Okay, I'm there.
When you question climate change, they're like,
You motherfucker.
When you question anything, really.
there anything else I want to talk about?
Yeah.
You all out of questions or what?
Yeah, we pretty much breezed through all the topics I had on my syllabus today.
How you feeling? You got another few minutes in you?
If you got more topics, sure.
Dude.
Okay, I'm there.
So I've been nerding out on, kind of started watching Joe Rogan podcast, but I started doing my own research. There's a lot of people talking about this. Again, this is not something they're teaching in school. And this is something directly related to people writing books on this subject, and then evidence is coming out that they're wrong or they could be wrong, and they are using their power that they've accumulated to try to silence people. One of those is Egypt, right? At first, I took an interest in Egypt because of the hieroglyphs. I thought that was interesting. What were those people like? And then, not everybody knows. Where did they find, let me ask you, where did they find the tombs of the pharaohs and all these mummies? Where did they find them? In Egypt. Where?
In the pyramids?
Not one body, not one tomb has ever been found inside the pyramid. You know what makes it confusing, right? There's a chamber in the pyramids called the King's Chamber, and you would think that's where the kings were.
Yeah.
And they brought their bodies out of there. No. They're finding the bodies in the Valley of the Kings in different areas, but not in the pyramids. Did you know that?
No.
There's never been one body found in pyramids. Do you know what the pyramids are made out of?
I'm gonna say like sand and dirt and hay.
They're made out of granite. A lot of them. A lot of it is made out of granite. Do you know where the granite came from?
No.
A lot of it came from a quarry hundreds of miles away. We have granite countertops. Do you know how to cut granite? You got to have steel tools to cut granite because it's so hard. It's almost nearly impossible to cut it with bronze or brass. So back in the time of the Egyptians, when supposedly these pyramids were built, which was supposedly 3,000 years ago, right? 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. Nobody knows for sure. But back when these were made, they don't know how they cut the granite. Supposedly it was the Bronze Age. There was no steel. Some of these stones, a lot of them, most of them, weigh tons. And a ton is what, 3,000 pounds?
Sounds, around there.
So 1 ton to pounds is 2,204.62 pounds, right? Some of these stones weigh 1,000 tons. Let's make sure I'm correct here. 1,000-ton stone, Egypt.
Wow.
Okay. And here's one of them. I'm going to be getting to this. So some of them weigh hundreds of tons, 1,000. So we didn't have cranes back then. How did they move them? They've tried to re-engineer how they moved. They can't figure it out. They can't figure out how they got a 500-ton stone above the king's chamber, 300 feet in the air, because the king's chamber in there is just hollow spaces. It's just hollow spaces inside of the pyramid. They don't know how they got them up there. Even today, I don't think we have cranes that can lift it. Or if you do, you have to have like 2 of them. So I'm headed somewhere with this. And again, I'm just telling you what I've been nerding out on because it's super interesting. Okay, so right here, this is a 1,000-ton Egyptian obelisk. It's made out of granite, and it was abandoned because there's a crack in it. There's a giant crack going through here, right? So granite is I don't know if granite is harder than steel. Is granite harder than steel? So granite is one of the hardest materials, harder than steel. You know how hard steel is,
Yeah.
right?
And it's a natural.
Okay, and
Resource,
therefore
right?
steel knives cannot scratch the granite surface. That's why we have granite countertops, right? We can cut food on granite countertops. It's not going to affect the granite. Doesn't scratch it. Okay. Granite, due to its hardness, resists wear and tear very well and retains its polished quality for a long time. Okay.
You know, they did find, and I just recently found out about this. They did find a natural resource that is harder than granite.
Well, that's nuts.
Do you know what it is?
My
This
penis.
dick.
This was a stone. This isn't a quarry. And they were cutting it out of the rock. And you see how perfectly square it is?
Yeah.
All right. This is supposedly thousands of years ago. It's a 1,000-ton block of granite. So 1,000 tons. Just to put it into pounds. Is there a calculator? I just got new to using Mac. So let me try to find a calculator on this bad boy. Where are we?
Here,
Calculator.
I got you. Hold on.
I got you. I'm right here.
Okay. Okay, I'm there.
I'm in there.
Are you in there?
1,000
You tucked in there?
times 2,200 is 2 million,
2.2 million?
2.2 million pounds. Right? So if you were to get human beings to move this at 100, they're moving 100 pounds apiece. You would have to have 22,000 people move this thing, and you're carrying 100 pounds. You cannot fit 22,000 people around that, but that's how heavy this thing is.
I agree.
According to their calculations, that's how heavy this is. Okay, so this is in Egypt. I'm trying to find the city in town it's at. Well, anyways, the point I'm getting to is they can't figure out how they cut it, number one, and they can't figure out how they moved it. Now, if you look closely at the stone, there's scoop marks in it, like they used ice cream scoopers or a giant spoon to cut this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see the marks?
Yeah.
There's no tool that we have in existence that makes that shape of cut and also at the same time leaves it smooth like that. So the only thing, and this is what I've been researching, trying to figure out, the only thing is that we had to have some type of technology that doesn't exist anymore to soften the stone, right? In order to cut it. It's mind-blowing. We can't figure it out unless we had some type of metal harder than steel that cut it like nothing. I mean, that's not it. So they're also talking about how did they move it? Because if you were to put this on wood and timbers, it would crush the timbers or it would just smash them into the ground. There's just no way to move them. And they moved them over mountains, mountain ranges. They moved these blocks over mountain ranges. And they've shown, they've done tests on the block, they've done tests on the stone, and they've matched it to coming out of a quarry by looking at the veins. You can match this up. There's evidence to show where it came from by looking at the patterns of the veins, by looking at the compound, the elements it's made of, and they matched it to a quarry. It was cut out of a quarry hundreds of miles away. And back in that time, if we're dumb fucking apes, cave people, how did we do it? Nobody knows. They're also thinking that there's a technology that doesn't exist anymore, that we use sound waves to move it, that we use sound waves to make objects lift off of the ground, that they interfere with gravity somehow. Sound waves interfere with gravity, and you're able to get it to float and come off the ground enough to move it. And it sounds fucking crazy. But the more you think about it, the more you're like, There's no other way. There's no other way. They didn't have cranes. They didn't have helicopters. They didn't have spaceships. The only other option would be is that they used alien spaceships to pick them up and move them, or they had some type of aircraft that we don't know about. So the point I'm getting to is that they're saying that it's a very real possibility that there was a civilization that existed before us, of civilization meaning people, that were just as smart as us or smarter, but they had different technology that we don't have. And the question is, what happened to the people, number one, and where did all their technology go? Like if they were using, if they had technology that was more advanced than ours, where did it go? Where is it? Where are the people? Where are the bones? But the fact is that we have these stones here that we can go see today, and the evidence is real that there was something there that cut these stones that we don't have that. A lot of people think that the Bible says that we've only been around for 6,000 years. Sorry, but I don't think so. I think we've been around for 50,000, 100,000, possibly.
Fascinating stuff. And I don't know. It makes me think back to when I heard about the book of Enoch, which was a book that was originally a part of the Bible, but removed from the version we have today because the Roman Catholic Church decided to remove it, or maybe it was irrelevant. I don't know, or maybe they wanted to hide something. I don't know. Anyways, this is what it's kind of triggering that when I had first heard about that, because I kept hearing about it for so long. All these different videos and stuff that I've seen on YouTube and everything. So, but from what I understand is in that book, it does speak about aliens or these different beings that were there during the biblical times that would tie into, I think, Babylon, the fall of Babylon, and possibly even what you're talking about now with the Egyptians and and just the construction of those pyramids.
This puts into perspective for us that we right now are an advanced civilization. I mean, we're able to make things such as microphones. We're able to record our voices. We're able to put ourselves on video. That's advanced technology, what we're doing now. And there's a chance that one day some type of earthly cataclysmic event will wipe us out. And let's say magma comes up from the earth, right? Covers most of the earth or the United States. It will just destroy everything we have, every Tesla, every building, everything. If it's hot enough or whatever, it'll be erased. I mean, it sounds crazy. There'll be a lot of evidence left behind that we were here, more than what they left. But goes to show how fragile we are as a human race, that we can be wiped out by the earth, and there's nothing we can do other than having an aircraft. Eventually, that aircraft's going to run out of gas. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Land in the ocean? But I'm not saying that's going to happen. But something happened where we had a civilization that was able to do things that we don't understand. So they found granite vases, like a vase. They call it a vase, whatever. It's a vase. So you know, if you're holding a vase and you turn it this way and you look down into it, the hole from the vase is lined up with the bottom of the vase, and it's lined up so accurately within 1,000th of an inch. And then the roundness of the vase is off within 1,000th of an inch. The only way, and if you don't believe me, you can look it up. The only way to get something that accurate is machinery, right? You have to have machinery, and it's granite. Remember, it's harder than steel. So how do you carve out a vase? How do you do it with that much perfection? And there's also carvings. Is it in Egypt or is it Göbekli Tepe, or it's one of the ruins they found somewhere in the world? There are carvings that the symmetrical accuracy of the carving, it's almost like they made half of it and just flipped it over, because the symmetrical accuracy is within like 1,000th of an inch.
Wow.
Or 1/10,000th of an inch, something like that. They're so symmetrically accurate, they don't understand how they did it without computers or without a. The only thing that can do that is a what's the machine that has the arm and it comes down? A CNC machine, right?
Yeah. Like
CNC machine can cut something more than 1,000th of an inch accurate for the most part. But if you didn't have that back then and it's on the side of a building, how do you do that? Right? Because they took a picture of one of these things and then they deleted half of it and then copied it and flipped it horizontally and laid it like a ghost image over. They replaced the side they deleted.
Right.
Or let me start over. They took a picture of a face and they only copied half of it. And then they ghosted out the face. They changed the opacity. It's called opacity. They changed the opacity and made it lighter. And then they flipped it over. And when it lined up, it was accurate. Like accurate. There was the human face is not symmetrical. Nobody, the most beautiful person in the world, their face is not symmetrical. None of us. So they don't know how they got that degree of accuracy other than some type of advanced technology. And they found drill marks inside granite that are 300. Whatever they use to drill inside this granite is 300 times faster than what we can drill through granite today.
Jeez.
300 times faster.
Yeah.
So that means that they were able to soften the granite. They were able to soften the granite and drill through it, right?
Yeah. How'd they do that?
I don't know. Some type of plant. That there are legends that there are certain plants that you can make a paste out of or something and put it on stone and it softens it. Supposedly. Like I said, I've done a lot of research. I did not take notes or write any of this stuff down. I'm just spitballing I'm just bullspitting
Off memory.
off memory. Okay, so there are rumors that there's this stuff out there. So when they drilled through this granite and made these drill marks, 300 times faster than what we're able to do today. So let's say 10 revolutions. Let's say 100 revolutions of some type of drill bit that we use today to drill into granite only drills 1 inch, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the drill marks that they found on these things, the same amount, whatever pattern that our tools leave on the granite from drilling,
Right.
the same type of pattern that they found on these things, let's say you were able to replicate that on their stuff, it would be 30 inches deep. Not just one. No, 300.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
300. So let's say 1/10 of an inch. Whatever it takes us, let's say it takes 60 revolutions per minute, right? 1 revolution per second is about this fast. So we could, with 60 revolutions, we can cut 1/10 of an inch through granite, right? They could cut 30 inches.
Wow.
So whatever it is, whatever they used, there was some type of way to soften the granite. Nobody knows how they did it. It's amazing. And if I sound crazy, just start Googling and YouTubing this stuff. Nobody knows how they did it. The last point, they've never found any bodies inside the pyramids. But the pyramids have not only do the pyramids have chambers in them, but the pyramids have rooms and tunnels and all kinds of voids in them. But the design of the voids don't make any sense. They're not designed for like human occupation. It's not designed for human occupancy. Doesn't make any sense. But there's burn marks inside the ceiling. I think it's the King's Chamber. Some researchers today, and I think one of them went on Joe Rogan and was talking about this. Some researchers today believe that the pyramids were used as energy generators to produce electricity. That the city around the pyramids actually had power, like electric, or they had some type of energy, because Nikola Tesla invented the Tesla coil. You ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Nikola Tesla invented the Tesla coil, and Nikola Tesla's theory was that the ground is a energy conductor. The dirt, rocks, ground, you can conduct electricity through the ground, right? And also, the way I'm always walking around our studio and shocking myself, the air is conductive. Electrons and whatever. I'm not even going to try to go there. That sounds stupid. But that the air conducts electricity. So his theory was, if you can put a Tesla coil down in the ground and you can put electricity into the air high enough to where it doesn't affect us humans, it doesn't electrify us, then you can get an electrical device and you can place it anywhere you want in the world as long as you have this grid of electricity, and you can make electricity free for every human being on Earth. You never have to pay for electricity again. You never have to build another power plant. You never have to do nothing, because the Earth is now supplied with electricity. And all you got to do is have an electric device and plug into the electricity. You have as much power as you want for as long as you want. You never run out, ever. So these guys on YouTube, they put a Tesla coil in the ground, and I don't remember exactly how they powered it, but they got a remote control boat and they put it in the water, and it was drawing power from the Tesla coil, and they were driving the boat around the water.
What?
Yeah. So here's the thing. That was Tesla's theory. So J.P. Morgan, the guy who founded Chase Bank, he was funding Nikola Tesla for his experiments. So Nikola Tesla said that there's some experiments I want to do. I want to borrow some money, blah, blah, blah. So this guy lent him money. Well, the experiments that Nikola Tesla was doing were so groundbreaking, and he was discovering so much stuff that J.P. Morgan got to the point where it was threatening to him, because J.P. Morgan owned power companies. He made money from power. So he owned steel companies. He owned electrical companies, I think. I think it was J.P. Morgan, right? Yeah.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
I think J.P. Morgan owned a power company. Energy. He owned energy companies. I think so.
Man, poor Nikola Tesla.
Electricity
man.
company.
Sounds like Nikola Tesla was just doing what he was most curious about, and everybody was using him left and right.
Well, J.P. Morgan gave Nikola Tesla $150,000, equivalent to $5 million today. He gave him 51% control of the patents. Okay, so we're really going down a rabbit hole now, because I got some more shit to tell you. Look, Nikola Tesla was scammed by J.P. Morgan. Okay, so here's what happened. He made the Tesla coil and all this stuff, and he was loaned money so he could build this tower, which is a giant Tesla coil, because he wanted to discover. So this tower came up. It looked like a giant tripod. I think it had 4 legs. I think it was several hundred feet tall. And it had a power thing that ran down the center and went down into the ground. So it could, I don't know if it drew electricity from the ground. I don't remember how it worked, but I think it was for grounding purposes. It went down into the ground so far, and that it could electrify the air. And the other good thing about that was You can have electric airplanes that don't need engines. Because if you have power running through the air, you can have airplanes that fly and never need to refuel ever. You could fly 365 days a year and never land because they're constantly powered by these Tesla coils. Okay. This was a threat to JP Morgan's power company. So he quit funding the project, and not only quit funding it, he demolished it. He demolished this thing because he realized that this is a new form of electricity that
He can't control.
could put all power companies out of business. It's free electricity for all human beings.
Yeah.
So you could have, dude, there's videos on this, and you can have power going, you can have electricity running through the sky, and airplanes, it powers boats. You can power boats in the ocean because you can have a giant Tesla coil here, and you can have one hundreds of miles away, and it's running power through the air, and you can power boats in the ocean. They don't need to have motors. So this was a threat to the fossil fuel industry, a threat to oil companies.
Yeah.
This puts
Any energy
millions,
company, really.
in any energy company, this puts millions of people out of jobs. This makes billionaires and millionaires broke. So, of course, you're going to suppress this technology. But the fact is that this technology exists. And they believe that the ancient Egyptians were able to tap into this technology thousands of years ago, and that the pyramids are actually energy generators.
Oh. That's yeah. That's
Dude.
crazy. Now that okay, because I was
Is that mind blowing or
yeah.
what?
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Huh.
So look, pyramid as an energy source. I don't want to play any YouTube videos. I'd rather just read stuff.
Yeah.
So the explanation of how the pyramids can be an energy generator. Look, ancient. Okay, so I guess it was on Ancient Aliens, right? Look at this. This is related.
The Tesla coil?
This is related to Tesla's theory that you could energize the atmosphere. Or I don't know if it's the atmosphere or just the air in general. But I know you have to have something in the ground as a grounded source. I mean, we even got to have that on airplanes. You got to have a grounded source. Something, man, I sound like a jackass. But overall, you could have electricity running through the air that's absolutely free. And any device you make, as long as it's a receptacle, for that energy, and in the device, you're able to power your different flight controls or power your rudders or whatever it is. It could be a plane or a boat. Or power whatever electrical propulsion device you have. We wouldn't need to have, and this goes back to the pollution thing, we wouldn't need to have gasoline, which is airplanes use JP8 fuel. I can't imagine that would be good for the government. I can't imagine that would be good for the atmosphere, or for whatever. Our airplanes would be electric, and our cars,
clean energy.
our cars would be powered by the electricity in the air. You'd never have to refuel for gas.
Clean natural energy.
Clean natural energy that probably doesn't cause cancer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Because lightning coming out of the sky, that's clean natural energy.
I know. Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so he was able to harness effectively what clouds do with lightning energy. That's pretty much what you're saying about the Tesla coil.
Yeah, not only, harness it or recreate it.
Wow.
So the whole theory is that we have electricity running through the air, and any device we make that we need power to, it's a free power source, we just tap into it. But humans are so greedy and fucked up that we would rather use another source of energy that's dirty and harms people and harms the earth, supposedly, that we cannot find people who want to research this and try to make it happen, because you're going to make powerful enemies and they will ruin your fucking life. They'll threaten to murder your family. They'll burn your house down. They'll ruin everything you know to keep you from putting them out of business.
So why are you talking about this?
The Great Pyramid of Giza, source of limitless energy and wireless electricity. So can you imagine if we had that? The computer right now, these computers and microphone and camera would be running off of the electricity that we're pulling from the air. The experiment that they conducted,
Mhm.
they had to put a regulator. So they had a Tesla coil. They had to put a regulator on the energy because it would have blown the boat up. It was a little RC boat about this big.
Yeah.
It would have blown the boat to pieces because there's so much power. So they had to put a regulator coming off that Tesla coil to make sure it doesn't blow the boat up. And they had to use multimeter, right? Some type of multimeter to check the voltage. The voltage was like 40 volts or something like that.
Regulators.
A 12-volt battery runs a little power boat. So it was like 40 volts. They said it would blow the boat, literally blow the boat out of the water. Blow it up, blow it out of the water. So they had to limit the electricity. That's how powerful this technology is. So if you can create this technology and put it into the air and regulate it to keep it from destroying, blowing up houses and all that stuff, you have unlimited energy for life. Let's say we did have that technology. There would be somebody out there trying to control it and put regulations on it and trying to figure out a way to block you from accessing it from the sky, and you got to pay just to access the electricity in the sky. And then you'd have Mexicans figuring out how to steal it. But, okay, so here's another thing with Nikola Tesla that's pretty interesting. So when Nikola Tesla died, Nikola Tesla kept he kept everything written on paper.
So a journal.
Yeah, I guess so. He wrote everything down just like Leonardo da Vinci. He wrote everything down. So he said, I don't know if it was an interview. I think he was doing an interview with a magazine or a newspaper. He said he had 80 trunks, 80, full of papers with everything he knows, all his knowledge, everything he's invented. When he died, I think the FBI had 5 days, 3 or 4 days, something like that, for his family to come get his stuff. Well, he died alone and supposedly broke because of J.P. Morgan in a hotel room. And there was he had the thing, do not disturb. They don't know how many days. It's not really known for a fact how many days he'd been dead. But I don't know if all his trunks were in that room or he had his trunks stored away somewhere. But the U.S. government took control of those trunks, and they reported that they only had 50.
Wow.
So 30 of those trunks went missing. So it's kind of a conspiracy to suppress Nikola Tesla's,
like the most valuable trunks.
the most valuable knowledge that could ruin the economic system by putting lots and lots and lots of people out of business. If people got their hands on it, they could reverse engineer. Did you know that Elon Musk did not create the electric car? The Tesla. It's named Tesla, the car.
Right.
Did you know that the motor in it is Tesla's design? He just took the design and put it in a car. It's called a reverse induction motor. Here's why. So did you know that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, right?
Tesla.
Thomas Edison invented the light bulb.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that?
I thought it was Nikola Tesla.
Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb.
Okay.
Okay. So like after 1,000 tries, he invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison invented or came up with direct current, DC. Nikola Tesla developed it into alternating current. AC stands for alternating current. It alternates. You have, best way to describe it is you have these electrons, I think it's electrons, and they have magnetized poles, right? Put two magnets together, they push away and pull together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's alternating. They're constantly alternating, which makes the power, right? Man, I'm going to sound like a jackass if I don't get that right, which I probably don't have it right, but it's pretty close. Okay. So it was determined that Thomas Edison's form of electricity, DC, is dangerous. It caused a lot of buildings to burn down, things caught on fire, and it turns out that Nikola Tesla was able to develop it into alternating current, which is much safer. That's what we use today. 70%, I think it's 70 to 80% of everything we use today in life was somehow a form of invention by Nikola Tesla. Everything. You have something called an reverse induction motor for the electric car that Tesla uses. Elon Musk did not invent the electric car. The first electric car was invented in like 1890. So what it is the power is generated from the fuel cells as DC power. And you have to have an induction device, something like that, to translate it to AC power, to power the motor up. Because I think direct, it's too powerful. So you have to have it. Man, I'm going to sound like such a fucking idiot if this is not right. And this is just from my research. Like I said, I'm just rehashing this stuff the best I can.
You're just bullspitting.
And this is to show you how much of a nerd I am on this stuff. So that's the way these cars are powered, by getting the directly from batteries as DC current and a reverse induction motor, and it converts it to alternating energy. So Nikola Tesla came up with the electric cars, his invention. That's why it's named after him, Tesla. So we are using more of Tesla's inventions today than we are Thomas Edison. And did you know that Thomas Edison was here first and Nikola Tesla was his protege? So Nikola Tesla wrote letters to Thomas Edison wanting to know if he could come work for him and be his student. And then they developed their own beef where Nikola Tesla started becoming smarter. Like, I don't know if he started becoming smarter, but he started outthinking Thomas Edison. And they became rivals. And they started beefing, like scientists beefing. And there's even the rap battles of history, the videos.
Uh-huh.
There's Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
They started beefing because Thomas Edison just was so fucking smart. He started telling Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla was so goddamn smart. He started telling Thomas Edison, hey, there's a better way to do this. And they started disagreeing. So Nikola Tesla was like, I'm going to go do my own shit. Fuck you.
Yeah, there's
and
that.
He took off and started doing his shit.
There's that ego that you were been talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Got involved there.
And there's more. There's more to that. So we are at the 3-hour mark. 3 hours and 4 minutes, which we took a break for 10 or 15 minutes. So our first podcast is going to be like 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's not bad.
Well, I'm just glad we finally got around to it. And
how many years ago did you bring this?
I want to say 2 years ago.
Did you talk about this?
About solid 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So it took us 2 years to get going and to actually make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. That's right, baby. I think the bear approves.
Ooh.
I think he's shocked at what he heard today. And the Joker said, why so serious?
Yeah, so I think this came out pretty nice. You wanna take a shot?
Let's take a shot.
Okay. Let me see.
Just to celebrate the first pilot, or the first episode. We're gonna take a shot here. Don't sue me.
We're gonna take a shot out of some dirty cups.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The cleanest.
We're gonna do some Whistle Pig. We are not sponsored. Yeah. Let me see. There's the camera.
Makes that pig whistle.
Oh, this stuff's brutal.
All right, let's do it. Okay. All right. Good first episode. We'll get that in a little bit. Yeah. Good first episode there, Mark. Laheim.
Yeah, hang on. Let me sit down. So yeah, that's to our first podcast. It's just one of those things like we were talking about with school. You just have to figure things out. It's the way your life is going to work out. You can't depend on the government anymore. You can't depend on society to take care of you. You have to figure out things for yourself. And you have to be willing to risk being embarrassed in front of everybody. This podcast may not work out. We may look like idiots, but who cares? That's just something we're willing to do. So we plan on doing this for many years, especially if this goes well. So cheers.
Cheers. Good stuff.
Yeah. I'm a bigger wimp than you are. This sucks.
That's because I do
Oh
that
my God, that
technique
was
I told
nasty.
you.
What's
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're...
So
this
what's
is
the
something
technique?
I've learned from my years of drinking, binge drinking,
Camera's over here.
bartending, and whatever else you want to throw in there. When you're taking a shot, this is how you take it with grace and easy so you don't look like a wuss every time you take your shot. First of all, you get your shot ready, clink the glass, cheers. Sometimes you want to tap the table afterwards. At least that's how we do it around here. Then take a deep breath, down the hatch with the drink, and then after that, you do not breathe out your nose. You will only breathe out your mouth, and you will breathe in your nose. So in the nose, out the mouth, in the nose, out the mouth. And you won't feel the burn as much. You won't cough. You won't look like...
You look like I did. I was over here dying.
So again...
A shot sucks.
So again, after you drink the liquid, you breathe in the nose, you breathe out the mouth. People are going to smell what you've been drinking. That's fine. Who gives a shit? Just do it.
Yeah. What'd you think?
Good stuff. Can't wait
All
till the
right.
next one. All right, we'll see you guys.
That's it for us. Thanks.
Bullspittin.